your Quaren-hope-dealer's back. And I started by telling you guys a part of how I'm living Leagacys. Little snippet of the start to finish of my mom's life. And now it's time to take into account another part of a legacy I am living. There were two people that had to make me, so I have a mother, I have a father. So let's go with the second part of me, and that would be my dad. James J. Reynolds. Everyone called him Jim or Jimmy. And I was always stuck at Dad's side when I was little. I wasn't at school. I was up Dad's behind, when he wasn't at work. My brother didn't want to go do things with him, so I would go do things with him. Got you, bro. And I'm glad I didn't miss out on a damn thing. With the little bits, and I couldn't even tell in that small time with my mom even a quarter of the things she's done. But the biggest part being how she built her life and helped build others, one of them being my dad. And like I said, at 10 months old, my dad was 1 year sober. My dad had been an alcoholic pretty much most of his life, from mid-teen years on up until just before I was born. And I didn't know a lot of the background until I was older. I do remember after I started getting older, 4 or 5 years old, I realized that we had Daddy's birthday in October, and he got older. He was like, 43 or 44 or whatever it was. And then he got a different older in November, and he was a lot younger than his actual age. So I didn't understand this as a child. And what was nice is I had parents who were always honest with me. We had an open, honest relationship. I had sat and asked my mom and dad one day. I had asked my mom one day, why does Dad have 2 birthdays? And why is he this age on this one? And why is he 11 on this one? I'm 10. Now is my daddy only a year older than me? So she started telling me a little bit. And Mom's sitting in front of me, and I'm seeing Dad come in, and he starts crying as he's listening to Mom tell me. And the only way she can tell a young child that your daddy was a totally different person. He used to do some things that changed the way his mind worked, and he used to hurt me. And if it wouldn't have been him changing the way he did those things and stopping doing some of those things, he wouldn't be able to be a good dad, and we wouldn't be together. And I was just seeing the pain in my dad's eyes. Not that it was told, but that my mom was the love they had. The love that showed that he knew that he had hurt her, and it hurt him so much to know that he had hurt her. I remember at 11 years old, after my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, he started wanting to talk to me more and more about stuff like this. And he would start telling me about his time in Germany, stationed in Germany in the army, and meeting mom and this and that. And I think it was his making amends he didn't feel he had made. Now as an adult, I know it's called empty chair. But one thing my dad told me is that he loved my mom, and if he would not have chose my mom and me, he probably would have ended his life. He chose an inpatient rehab and never drank again, which is not always the same success story for others. But he had seen this pattern happen 12 times before mom, kids, and divorces, and he even tried to build an amends and a better relationship with my sisters, half-sisters, and in the long run, it apparently didn't seem to work out to where they could see him as a person that would be different, but I saw him differently. I knew everything he had done because he had told me in a way a child could understand. He said I was bad, especially when I drank, and I was bad because I drank, because I chose to. He told me he would throw things. He told me he would hit his wife. He told me he would hit his kids. He told me he'd thrown dogs across the room, and the dad I knew never would have done that. It's like his life had made a total 360 switch, and he had been a totally different person than he was prior. You could see the tears running down his face, even though he was trying to hold them back, as he was telling me that if my mom had not given him that second chance, knowing that she shouldn't have, he doesn't know if he would have ever changed his life. He doesn't know what the future would have held, and no one does. But Jim Reynolds did hold a legacy. Yes, he was an alcoholic, and he was an abuser who changed his life, who became a hope dealer, who would help others, raised his two younger children to the best of his abilities, tried to make better relationships with his older children. He was with his mother the day she passed away at home as her wishes. He helped others get through hard times. He became a sponsor for others. I know he went to meetings even for a couple years after he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He was still going to AA meetings. He was a sponsor. He helped others change their lives. I know he helped run a couple meetings here and there. I used to go with him and sit with him. He was, I would joke with people that I'm raised by a nurse and a carpenter. The carpenter being the biblical background, which is kind of fun, and the nurse just in case I get hurt. And I was a bruiser. I'm clumsy and stuff, but I learned all I could from my parents, and I hold to it to this day. One of the most important things I learned from my dad, though, was when to step back, when to know that you can't rebuild that relationship, when no matter what you try to do, they're just going to always see you as the past. Don't judge. Always taught me not to judge. Said you judge them for something you very likely done or may do in the future. Who are you? He'd say, is your name spelled G-O-D? No, my name's spelled J-A-M-I-E. Like, then don't be judging. It takes me a second to catch that he spelled God. Because it's like, because I was having to catch myself. What my daddy was doing was catching me. Living legacies. It may not seem like much, and these are just little snippets of legacies that go forward. But at the time my dad passed away, the age of 69, he was He was 24 years sober. For that, I believe, is a feat. To even be 1 year, if you were to be that. To know how much he had hurt others and to see it. And to know that no matter how much he tried, there's always going to be people that judge, but he can decide not to judge them or judge anyone else. He can decide to just move on and help. People don't always decide to put their stories out there. People don't always decide to be bold and be brave and say, hey. And I'm scared to do this. But I'm taking the step. If I don't, who will? If I don't show one person, if any, that someone out there is brave enough to take the step, to be vulnerable, at a time when none of us can be together safely, who am I to sit back and say, oh, and judge, oh, well, someone else will do it, I can be chicken and not. I am proud of the legacy I am living and passing on. And I'm still building and growing and learning. I will never forget the values instilled in me. I may have $1 million or I may have two, but I will always be rich if I have love. The money don't mean a thing. And that's what we're dealing out. Love and hope. Peace out.